Okay, Brandon Rynka here from the BR 365 Day Challenge. I have the pleasure of sitting down and interviewing Alexander Michael Gittens,
Good to be here.
keynote speaker, author, leader, inspiration,
Love it.
consultant, what haven't you done, right? So glad to have you on here.
My pleasure, Brandon.
And just
Great
kind of
to be
hear
here.
your story about challenging yourself throughout life, the mistakes we've made, like we all have. We're human, right? And your perspective on life, and obviously a very inspirational leader, so we'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, well, great to be here. Thanks for having me. It's definitely a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
So again, tell me a little bit about yourself and tell the viewers about yourself and your story of...
Yeah. Well, I mean, I grew up in some pretty tough neighborhoods. They call them at-risk neighborhoods, right? And I was a shy kid. So I'm a shy kid growing up in at-risk neighborhoods. But I had two things going for me that worked out pretty well. Number one, I was above average athlete. And number two, I was a child prodigy on piano. So even though I was a shyer kid, I was able to sort of express myself through music and through sports. And so that was the first sort of chance that I had to kind of get myself out there. As I got older, I guess I started to realize that I want more than this. I always thought about there's people in life who they're going to get to age 20, age 25, and they're going to give up on their dreams. They're going to say, I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be an astronaut. But then reality sets in, right? And they decide that, you know, maybe I'll become something other than what I wanted to be growing up, or maybe my aim was too high. I guess, Brandon, I knew that would never be me. I guess I knew that I would never get to a point in my life where I was saying, I want plan B.
Sure.
And the funny thing is, I didn't even know what plan A was.
Yeah.
I just knew that I didn't want to be nothing. I knew that for sure. Like, I wanted to be something. I wanted to matter. And I knew that I wouldn't stop until I found my unique place where I could make a difference. So that's sort of the mindset I had as a kid, is just, I'm a shy kid, but I love sports, I love music.
Yeah.
And one day, I'm going to be more than whatever I am today. I'm going to rise above this neighborhood and all of that. Yeah, so that's kind of how I got started there, yeah.
And where did that come from? Where did that need or want to be something more?
Who knows? I think about that all the time. I think, where does ambition come from? In all the writing I do now, and we'll get into that later, I think about, what is the origin of greatness? Like, why be great? What's the purpose of it?
Yeah.
And like, is it just something you do indiscriminately? So I guess as I speak to a lot of students, Brandon, and I guess some of them say the same thing. I just know that I want more than what my family had. I know I want the opposite of the way that I grew up. But yeah, that's maybe in a different lifetime, that'll be a research topic. But where does motivation come from? Where does ambition come from? I really don't know. I've just always had it. I knew I would always have it. And one of my fears was waking up one day and not feeling that push.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in the lonelier times in my life, that's all I had, was the belief that I would be more tomorrow than I was today. But it's a great question, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just know I got it. I've got that desire.
Good, which is a good quality to have.
Yeah, well, I've got it in spades, so that's
Absolutely.
a good thing. Yeah.
Now, what would you say to students who come out of university or college, they kind of feel a little lost? Like they say, they have that plan A, but they don't know what that plan A is.
Yeah.
So the idea of the article that you wrote, right? I don't know where I'm going, but I know how to get there. I think it's a fantastic topic for any youth to kind of perspire to go for. So what would you tell people that if they don't know their purpose, they don't know what to actually go for, to at least lead them in the right direction?
Great question. I'm going to break it into two parts. So the first one is, what would I tell those people? Well, before I jumped in sort of any advice, any kind of, you should do this, I would say, when I graduated from my undergrad, I took finance. So I had a business degree in finance. I didn't have a clue of what I wanted to do. Then I did my MBA. I did my MBA in finance and negotiations. When I did my master's degree and I graduated, I didn't have a clue of what I wanted to do. And the job I do now, I didn't even know it existed when I was 23, 24 years old. I didn't even know that people need the services I provide, that executives need the sort of leadership that I provide. So I guess the first thing I would tell students is, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure to have everything figured out. Not only did I not have everything figured out, but it doesn't matter if you do. If you ask anyone who's honest, where they ended up was not in a straight line. It's zigs and zags and all of that. The second part of the answer is where things get exciting. Because once you've accepted that, I don't know how things are going to work out, I don't have a clue. Then the question is how do we make decisions in this environment of uncertainty? And that's where the beauty of what I wrote about in the article that you mentioned earlier is that moment by moment, not just when you're applying for a job, not just when you have to pick a major, not just when you're choosing between two job offers, but moment by moment. Are you looking at these three things that I look at before I make decisions? Because I know that if I follow these three things, that they will pave my road to greatness. So number one, I call it the reassuring lie. The reassuring lie is the belief that something else needs to change for me to achieve greatness. Whether it's my environment, whether it's my family, whether it's my gender or my background or my orientation. Maybe it's the way in which people look at me. Once I get my degree, my parents will respect me. Anything external that you say, this needs to change before I achieve what I need to achieve, then you're being coddled or you're being sort of cradled by a lie. The truth is that you have the opportunity and responsibility to act in accordance with your highest values and to react that way as well. So that's number one. The reassuring lie is, remember, I happen to the world doesn't happen to me. Even when things go wrong, the freedom to choose my next action is completely up to me.
Perfect.
Number two is cool. This one I call the fundamental fear. Yeah. Should I stop now? Is number one enough? Yeah? Okay. So number two, we have the reassuring lie. So number two is the fundamental fears. So the fundamental fears are the fear of not being successful and the fear of failure. So I have an article that I wrote there, and I'm sure I'll make sure your readers have the link to everything as well. But one of the cool lessons of the fundamental fears is this interesting relationship between comfort and discomfort. All right? So this is not a face your fears, this is not whatever. What we're saying is that there's a unique kind of comfort you need to have and a unique kind of discomfort. So I've already decided through the reassuring lie that this is all about the way that I act and I react. But the comfort and discomfort we have in part two is saying, I always want to be 100% comfortable in my soul, in my highest values. So whenever I am meeting with Brandon, or I'm playing basketball, or I'm dealing with a client, or I'm dealing with a family member, I want to make sure that my actions are in complete congruence with what I believe to be right. Any form of excellence or success that doesn't happen in alignment with your values is temporary, unsustainable, and suboptimal. There is no form of greatness which acquiesces to the beliefs of someone else. So that's the comfort. When I act, I have to make sure that's the discomfort now is in your actions. You don't want to be comfortable with what you do. I mean, the CEO, Jeannie of IBM, she said, comfort and growth cannot coexist. So that's your choice. Do I want to be comfortable or do I want to grow? So when you're taking an action, you have to choose. Choose the most uncomfortable action possible where you're likely to fail, but you're 100% comfortable inside of your values. So that's that beautiful dichotomy. Let's call it duality because they do work together in harmony. Is I want to be 100% comfortable in my highest values and as uncomfortable as possible in my actions. Okay, so that's number two. So we've got the reassuring lie that I get to act and react in alignment with my values. The fundamental fears is now saying that I need to be really, really comfortable with the net energy created by what I do, but uncomfortable in the way that I do it.
Perfect.
Number three, right? We're almost there, right? So number three, I call it the unacceptable death.
Okay.
The unacceptable death. So we have the reassuring lie, the fundamental fears, and the unacceptable death.
Perfect.
An unacceptable death is, number one, the weird belief that you're going to live forever. That even makes sense.
Probably not going to happen.
No? Don't bet on that?
I wish. I exercise, but to an extent, right?
Every living thing dies, right? And it's beautiful, right? Because we die, we become the grass, the deer eat the grass. You all saw The Lion King. You understand the way the circle of life works, right? Oh, fantastic. Fantastic movie. So you understand that we have a finite time here on earth.
Yes.
That is both an opportunity and a responsibility because we didn't give ourselves life. It was a gift to us. We have the responsibility of doing things that are productive with it. So the unacceptable death is a life built on moments that are not in alignment with what your greatness is. And I'll explain. I used to think that greatness happened in two ways that turned out to be completely wrong. Number one is that it's a zero-sum game. So a zero-sum game means 2 steps forward and 2 steps back.
Sure.
In order for me to get $10, I have to take $10 from Brandon, which I'll do. You know my upbringing, right? I'll take the $10.
Yeah.
The point that I'm making is that I used to think in order to get more meaning in my life, I would have to sacrifice some money.
Okay.
So my whole thing was, this is a zero-sum game, so I'm gonna do it in a sequential way. So I'm gonna take all my time and energy to get money, get fame, get celebrity, get as much as I can get.
Yeah.
Then I told myself, perhaps naively, once I get money, once I get fame, then I will give it away. Because I don't have anything right now, I told myself.
Sure.
I'm going to give it away.
Yeah.
Then once I get it and give it, then I'll find fulfillment.
Sure.
So not only did I believe that it was a zero-sum game where I have to give this up to get that, I also believed that it was sequential and that I needed to first get money and power and fame, then I would get respect and then I'd get fulfillment.
Yeah.
It's not the case.
Yeah.
The unacceptable death is a life built where every moment is not in alignment with your highest purpose. Your purpose is to be the best human you can be. Your purpose is to create the biggest impact you can. That's the purpose of life. So even when I'm sitting down with Brandon and we're interviewing, I'm asking myself, if this interview was the only thing that my entire life was judged on, am I okay with that?
Yeah.
What if I never played baseball? What if I never was a musician? What if I was never a strategist? What if I didn't go to 4 universities or have 400 clients or speak on the stages I do or write the articles? What if my entire existence was being evaluated on this moment alone? Am I okay with this interview representing everything that I will be in legacy? When you start taking that level of acuity to each decision you make, the cumulative effect of that is something called greatness. So now we've got the reassuring lie, which is, I happen to the world doesn't happen to me. I choose things inside of my highest values, and if people do things, if situations do things, I still have the freedom to react in alignment with my values. Then we have the fundamental fears. I am always comfortable with my actions inside of my values. I won't do something which doesn't feel right in my heart of hearts. But the actions are as uncomfortable as possible. And then the third one, this is not something that happens by losing a little bit of this and getting that. It's not a quid pro quo. It's something that happens moment by moment. Every choice matters, big and small. It's not something that happens at the end of a sequence where I get money, I give money, and I get fulfillment. It's happening right now. Every moment is an opportunity and a responsibility to build your greatness. That habit of doing that has taken me places that I never knew life would. And it's given me peace, it's given me joy, because now I know that even when things don't go wrong, I have these 3 steps, and I know how to evaluate what I'm going to do next. 3 good steps?
That's 3 great
good
steps.
Honestly. Great steps.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
3 great steps for greatness, yeah?
There you go. And I love that, right? And I'm especially in love with the idea behind being uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, you know about that because with any kind of physical fitness or that, it's all, tell me a little bit about that. So what approach do you take as in your physical journey? Yeah,
just what you said, right? Mm-hmm. The more uncomfortable I am, I know the greater value I'm going to get out of it.
It's amazing.
Right? Yeah. The more growth I'm going to see.
And so it's a law of nature.
Law of nature. Yeah. But the question is, how do people keep that perspective? Because it's so easy to want to be comfortable. Sure. It's easy to live within the status quo, even though in the short term, that might give some immediate gratification, but in the long term, you're right. It's not really translating to anything of value. True. So how do you keep that perspective? Because obviously you're someone who's mastered it through habit, but what can other people do to really kind of adopt that mindset? Yeah,
this is a cool question because I always ask myself, how relevant is my material to young AMG who is in is the 9-year-old version of myself able to access this and to digest it? I'm sure you didn't speak like this at 9 years old. Yeah, I was pretty Shakespearean back then, right? But here's what I would say. The first part of it's knowledge, right? Oprah Winfrey always says, when we know better, we do better, right? So the first part is knowledge. If we recalibrate our beliefs about what excellence is to the moment by moment, then we start taking the focus off the result and we start looking at the inputs. So that's number 1, is when you are impeccable for the steps, the result takes care of itself. So the first thing I would say is, how do I keep that in mind? I remind myself that wherever I want to go, whatever I want to be, whatever dreams of excellence and achievement I have for myself, I am doing those right now, sitting here together on this beautiful campus, University of Toronto, Mississauga, just a gorgeous campus where learning is going on in levity and light. Right here on this campus, in this moment, I am going through the process of greatness by being impeccable for my values and presenting my ideas at the highest positive level I can. So I'm no longer thinking about, well, in 6 years this will happen and this is the moment. So that's number one thing, is shift the evaluation period from some weird date in the future to moment by moment. And the second thing is, when it's moment by moment, if you screw up a day, or if you screw up a week, or you go on a tangent, every moment is a chance to turn it around again. So I'm not as hard on myself as saying, oh man, you screwed up. Because the next moment is another opportunity again. So don't worry about where you will be in 5 years or how well, even the job you take right now, follow the steps. Am I allowing something external to justify my action? Is this something that my heart beats for, but I'm really uncomfortable? And in this job, moment by moment, am I allowing my incremental actions to be in alignment with my purpose to be the best human I can be and to create the biggest impact? If you do that, the universe gives you this, I call it in the article, a metaphysical magnet. It draws in people, like Brandon and I get drawn into each other with people that have complementary skills that fortify your greatness. It's also, when you're operating in your purpose, it's a natural filter against time wasters and people and places that would sap you of your energy. So I just say, trust that magnet and rely on that filter. And then just let go of everything that doesn't line up with your unique expressions of greatness.
Perfect. So just trust the process and let the compound effect take in action.
That's what it is. It's the most reliable of compound interests. It's the most reliable equation. Awesome. Absolutely.
And then one last question in terms of consistency. For me, any form of growth that matters takes time.
It sure does.
There's consistency over and over and over, building strong habits in order to accomplish what you want to accomplish. I'm sure the man you are today, it took a lot of time.
A lot of failure. A lot of failure, a lot of false starts.
Absolutely. So can you just give a little bit more insight into how consistency is so important into becoming the person you are and how to kind of stay consistent behind that person?
I think for me, the toughest thing would be even tougher for younger people. The toughest thing for me is, I am who I am. If I wanted to be a world-class basketball player, it would be some combination of skill and hard work. Angela Lee Duckworth, she is a world-renowned psychologist, and she studies something called grit, right? And she has a lovely equation where she said, you read her book? It's fantastic. So she was saying that, like talent plus effort, or talents multiplied by effort equals skill. Skill multiplied by effort equals achievement. So at the end of the day, you start with a talent. You start with a talent, and then you add the effort. Then you have a skill, and you add the effort. What's the constant variable is effort, right? So I don't try to be what I'm not. Sometimes you look at social media, you look at the news, and you're like, man, I'd love to do things that way. I'd love to have a body or a face like Brandon, right? I'd like to have intelligence like some of our team members who are here today. I would love to be well-spoken like this female professor that I have. You are not responsible for anyone else's giftings or talents. You're responsible for adding effort to your talent to gain skill, then adding effort to your skill to get achievement. And when you add purpose to your achievement, then you'll get greatness. And so what I look at to stay consistent is that I need to be the best me. And the way I judge whether that's going in the right direction is whether it's creating the biggest positive impact possible. But it's a way to choose to live. The most honest way of answering your question is, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But
I'm sure the most rewarding, probably.
What else is there? What else are you going to do but be excellent? What else are you going to do but be your best? Do you really want to be somebody else's best? At the end of the day, that's exhausting. Remember when you were younger and you were trying to fit in and all of that? You're going through that part of your life where popularity mattered. That's exhausting. You're alienating your parents and people who really care about you, pining after like this nebulous achievement from people who really don't care about what you do. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, would you not rather look at the people we admire, right? What characters on television or movie actors or people, they are free being themselves, and we admire them for it, right? Absolutely. Even quirky people in the media, we're like, yeah, you know, we know what
Sure.
Be the best you. It's the only you that matters. It's the only you where the greatness will happen. And the consistency comes from the fact that you've just made a decision. I've got a quote from one of my early articles, the one that no one even read. No one reads this article. Yeah. But it said,
probably your mom and dad read it.
Right, oh yeah, they both did. They both. My dad even commented on it. It's called And So I Write. So please, someone who's listening, please read that. I put my heart and soul, and it's overly academic. It's a hard read, read it anyway. Sure. But I said that determination is nothing more than a big choice supported by smaller choices. That's all it is. So the big choice is to be excellent. The big choice is to be the best version of myself. The big choice is to create the biggest positive impact. Yeah. Now, just let the smaller choices line up with that. But it's not easy. I'm circling your question because it's the hardest thing you'll do.
It's a tough answer. I don't think there's a direct line to it. And one last thing, any tricks into, I don't know tricks, but habits in programming your mind that you feel that has really put you in line with your goals on a consistent timeline?
You know what it is? For me, it's relationships.
Perfect. I was going to go off on that.
This is where I know whether I'm doing it or not. Sure. Because what will happen is you'll meet this beautiful young creature, right? Yeah, and you'll just be so into it, and you know the physiology of it. I don't. Right, but all that the kindergarten crush will take over you, and you start to see. I don't want to call them red flags, but let's call them moments for consideration.
I like that.
Do you bulldoze past that in chase of some social opportunity, or do you look at that and say, so in relationships? That's where I'm sort of my biggest critic for, am I living up to this, right? Because am I trusting the magnet? Am I trusting that where I invest my time and energy, if it is aligned with my greatness, then that will be the best outcome for me? Or am I looking at it as, I really want this to happen, I feel like it's right for me, and justifying the behavior? Sure. Trust the magnet. Rely on the filter. Let go of everything, anything, and anyone who doesn't line up with your unique expression of greatness. Because there's only 4 things you can do with your time. You can spend it, you can waste it, you can invest it, or at the end of the day, you can decide that each incremental action I do is going to be in servitude of my greatness. That's a choice.
I love that.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's probably one of the toughest things, like you said. But again, we're in control of that, which is the fantastic part of it.
Well, that's the great part, right? Because at the end of the day, growing up, I felt like I was a plaything of circumstance. It's like wherever the wind blew, that's where I would end up. But this does give you a measure of control and perspective that is nice. So at least if you screw up, it's your fault. Yeah. And like I did, it's like when I screwed up like huge in my life, it was my own fault. So I can fix that. I got myself in this hole, I can get myself out. So,
but they say it's simple, not easy.
Yeah.
and it takes time.
I've actually never heard that before, which is completely weird because I'm all about quotes. Yeah. It's simple, not easy. Simple, not easy. Do we know who said that?
I'll just say me. I'll take it. I was going to take it. But honestly, it was a pleasure sitting down with you today.
Absolutely.
Again, if any of the viewers want to find you, where can they find you, Alexander?
Yeah, so start at alexandermichaelgittens.com. I've really taken time putting together my website, so you can go to my Facebook page from there, you can go to my Instagram page from there, you can go to my YouTube channel, even see this interview on my YouTube channel eventually. So go to Alexander Michael Gittens, and if you really want to see from a job perspective what I've done, connect with me on LinkedIn. Because then you'll see the schools I went to, you'll get to see dozens of feedback from my actual clients of what working with me is like. And now that our listeners know about the inauspicious beginnings that I had, it'll seem that whatever situation they're in, it's not insurmountable. It's just that process human. Of greatness. Worse than human, right? Like.
Well, again, pleasure.
Yes.
And again, absolutely. All the best.
Take care, brother.
Okay, guys. Take care.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much.
Connect with Alexander Michael Gittens for keynote speaking and media details. For articles, information, and all social media links, visit alexandermichaelgittens.com.